Maya is a country larger than all of Western Europe combined, and you have probably never seen a single photo of it. Hidden inside, it is a Roman city that lay buried under the sand for 1,000 years. On its desert cliffs are paintings 12,000 years old of a Sahara that was once green and full of rivers. The people who have lived here longest are not who you would guess. They are not Arabs. Let me show you a giant you have never seen. This is Algeria, a place that preserves the imprints of Roman and Islamic civilization. Algeria is the largest country in Africa, 2.4 million square kilometers of land, the 10th biggest country on the entire planet. Numbers that large stop meaning anything, so let me put it against things you know. It is bigger than all of Western Europe put together. It is about 3.5 times the size of Texas. You could lift the whole of the United Kingdom and drop it inside Algeria almost 10 times over and still have room left at the edges. More than 4/5 of all that land is one thing: Sahara. Not a postcard dune behind a camel, but an ocean of sand, stone, and mountain that runs south for well over 1,000 kilometers until the map simply runs out of names. A country this size should be impossible to miss. Yet for most of the West, Algeria is a blank space. Few tourists go. Fewer photos come back. It may be the least seen large country on Earth, but it is far from empty. Packed into that vastness are 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, Roman ruins, prehistoric art, fortified desert towns, whole worlds stacked on top of one another. We will walk through them. Before we go any further, I am curious. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. Let's see just how far this unseen giant reaches. Because the real surprise is not how big Algeria is. It is who has called it home. Ask most people who Algerians are, and the answer comes fast: Arabs. It is also wrong, or at least only half the story. The oldest people of North Africa are the Amazigh, the group the outside world has long called the Berbers. And that name they gave themselves tells you everything. Amazighen. It means the free people. They were here first, long before Arab armies arrived in the 7th century, long before Rome. The Amazigh farmed these valleys and crossed these deserts. Arabic came later, carried by conquest and faith, and over centuries the two blended. So when you call an Algerian simply an Arab, you are skipping thousands of years of a separate, older identity that never went away. And it is not a museum piece, it is law. In 2016, Algeria made Tamazight, the Amazigh language, an official language of the state, written in its own ancient alphabet, Tifina, with letters shaped like stars and crosses that you will not see anywhere else. The Amazigh New Year, Yanayer, falling in mid-January, is now a paid national holiday. The heartland of this identity is a mountainous region called Kabylie, where the old language and the old pride run deepest. There is a reason this matters so much to people watching. Across the world, men and women with North African roots are tracing their ancestry back and finding the same word waiting for them. Amazigh, the free people. A name their grandparents may have whispered and the maps forgot. If you have watched this far, it means you are genuinely interested. Don't just like the video, tap the hype button. It takes a few seconds, and it helps this story reach many more people. Because this single country does not hold one people. It holds entire worlds that should not exist side by side. Stand on the northern edge of Algeria and you are looking at the Mediterranean. Blue water, white buildings. The capital, Algiers, rising up the hills so bright that the French nicknamed it Alger la Blanche, Algiers the White. It feels like southern Europe. It smells of sea salt and coffee. Now turn around and walk south, and within a day, everything you thought you knew dissolves. First come the mountains. The Atlas Ranges run like a wall across the country. The Tell Atlas near the coast, the Saharan Atlas behind it, and far in the south, the volcanic Hogar Highlands climb into thin desert air. These mountains are not decorated. They are a border between two climates, holding the green north apart from the endless dry south. And then comes the thing almost nobody believes. It snows in the Sahara. At the desert town of Ain Sefra, the gateway to the Sahara, snow has fallen across the dunes again and again in 2016, 2018, 2021. The reason is simple once you see the map. Ain Sefra sits high on the skirts of the Atlas, so when cold air sweeps down from the north, it meets that altitude and freezes, dusting the dunes for a few hours before the desert burns it away. One country, hot enough to kill and cold enough to snow, sometimes in the same week. To really understand this place, though, you have to forget the map for a moment and step into an ordinary Algerian morning. The day starts loud. In the old quarters of Algiers, or Oran, the souk wakes before the people do. Crates of olives, mountains of oranges, mint sold in dripping bundles, a butcher calling prices over the noise. Men sit outside small cafes over tiny cups of bitter coffee, watching the street the way other people watch television. And somewhere nearby, a baker is pulling out fresh baguettes because France left for good in 1962, but the bread stayed, sitting on the table right next to flat Maghreb loaves, as if the two had always belonged together. What holds all of it together is a single idea at the very center of Algerian culture: hospitality. In Algeria, a guest is not an interruption. A guest is close to sacred. Step into a home, even as a stranger, and the tea appears, then the dates, then the food, and refusing too quickly can almost hurt. There is even a word for this duty of welcome, and it is taken seriously enough that a family with very little will still empty the cupboard for someone they have just met. Picture an old man on a doorstep in the Kasbah, waving you out of the sun and into the shade, pressing a glass of mint tea into your hand before he has even asked your name. That gesture is not for the camera. It is just how the day is supposed to go. But to truly understand Algerian culture, you have to be invited to its most sacred celebration of all. A traditional Amazigh wedding is not an evening. It can be a week. In the Kabylie Mountains, a celebration may stretch across several days, each with its own rituals, building slowly toward the moment the bride leaves her childhood home for good. And the heart of it all is the night of the henna. On henna night, the women gather around the bride and paint her hands and her feet with dark, looping patterns of henna paste. They sing as they work, and every so often the room erupts with that high, rolling cry you may have heard before and never had a name for: the UU, the ululation, a wall of sound that means pure joy. But the henna is more than decoration. In the old Amazigh belief, it protects a shield against the evil eye on the most exposed day of a life. And it marks a crossing. When the paste is washed away, the girl is gone, and a woman stands in her place. Now, here is where so many videos get it wrong, and where the people of this country lose patience fast. There is no single Algerian wedding. The mountain Kabyle do it one way, with embroidered robes and heavy silver jewelry. The Chawi of the Ohez do it another. The Tuareg of the Deep South another again. The dresses change, the songs change, the words change from one valley to the next. To flatten all of that into one generic ceremony is to erase the very thing that makes it real. So before we move on, I want to hear from you. We have seen the land, the food, and now a wedding. Which part of Algeria has surprised you the most so far? Tell me in the comments. And nowhere does that welcome show itself more completely than around a single dish. That dish is couscous. Tiny grains of steamed wheat piled high, crowned with vegetables and slow-cooked meat. It looks humble. It is anything but. In 2020, UNESCO placed couscous on its list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity, recognized as a shared treasure of Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia, and Mauritania. And here is the detail that ties the whole story together. Couscous is Amazigh. It was born from the same Berber world we met earlier, long before modern borders existed. But couscous is not really about the food. UNESCO honored it for what happens around it. The grinding, the rolling, the steaming, often done by several hands at once. Then the eating from one wide, shared dish. It is a ritual of belonging, the centerpiece of the family meal, especially on a Friday, when the table fills and the week slows down. You do not serve couscous to feed people. You serve it to gather them. Around it sits the rest of the Algerian table. Sweet mint tea poured from a height until it foams. Dates from the desert oases. Spiced merguez sausage. Honey-soaked pastries like makroud. It is a cuisine built for sharing, where the worst thing a host can imagine is a guest leaving still hungry. Beyond the food, the festivals here have a musical backdrop, and it's quite different from anything you'd expect to hear coming from the Sahara Desert. That sound has a name, and for a while it conquered the world. Rye. It was born in the 1920s in the port city of Oran, where Spanish, French, Arab, Amazigh, and Jewish voices all crowded the same streets and bled into the same music. Rye started as the raw, defiant song of the poor and the working class. Then, in 1992, a singer named Cheb Khaled released an album and a track called Didi. And suddenly this music from a single Algerian port was playing in clubs from Paris to Tokyo. A local cry became a global one. But Rye is only one room in the house. There is Chaabi, the soulful music of the old city streets, raised to an art form by the great master El Hajj Mohamed El Anka, whose voice still feels like the sound of Algiers itself. There is Andalusi classical music, refined and ancient, carried across the sea centuries ago by Muslims and Jews fleeing Spain, and kept alive in cities like Constantine and Tlemcen. Each one is a different inheritance, a different wave of history that washed up on this coast and decided to stay. And then there is a sound that drifts up from the desert itself, a slow, hypnotic guitar the world now calls desert blues. Follow that sound south, away from the cities and into the sand, and you reach the most striking people in all of Algeria. In the far south, where the Hogar Mountains rise like black cathedrals out of the sand, live the Tuareg. They are Amazigh too, the desert branch of that ancient free people, masters of a terrain that kills the unprepared. And the first thing you notice is the color. Deep indigo robes and veils, dyed so heavily that the color never fully sets. Over years, the indigo works its way into the skin until a Tuareg man carries a faint blue sheen on his own face. And the desert gave them a name for it: the Blue People. Now hold on to everything you have ever been told about veils in the Muslim world, because here it runs backwards. Among the Tuareg, it is the men who cover their faces. The men. From the age the boy becomes a man, he wears the tagelmust across his nose and mouth, in front of strangers, in front of elders, sometimes even to eat. And the women go with their faces open to the sun. Look closer and the inversion goes deeper still. Traditional Tuareg society is matrilineal. Tents and herds pass down through the women. Descent is traced through the mother. Their most honored ancestor is not a king, but a queen, Tin Hinan, the mother of them all, whose tomb was found heavy with silver and gold. Everything you were taught about who hides and who is seen, the desert quietly turns inside out. This is the moment the title pays off. The Berbers who defy every stereotype were never a slogan. They are a people, living now, in a corner of a country you had filed away as something it is not. And these same mountains hold an even older secret, painted onto their rock walls 12,000 years ago. High on a sandstone plateau in the southeast stands what may be the greatest open-air art gallery on Earth, Tassili, Niger. Across an area of around 70,000 square kilometers of wind-carved rock, there are roughly 15,000 paintings and engravings, some of them 12,000 years old. UNESCO protected it back in 1982, and these are not crude scratches. They are herds of cattle, swimmers, dancers, hunters, painted by people who watched this world with their own eyes. Which raises the impossible question: swimmers? Cattle? In the driest desert on the planet? The paintings are not fantasy, they are a record, because the Sahara has not always been sand. For thousands of years, ending around 5,000 years ago, this was a green land of lakes, rivers, and grassland, alive with animals and people. We even know why. The Earth wobbles slightly on its axis over long cycles, and at that time the wobble pulled the seasonal rains far to the north, turning the desert into savanna. Then the rains slipped back south, the rivers dried, and the people painted their lost world onto the rock as the sand crept in. That is why this place feels like another planet, with its towering stone arches and eroded pillars. And it is the only site in all of Algeria that UNESCO lists for both its culture and its nature at once. A desert that remembers being green. Thousands of years later, a very different empire left its mark here, and you would never guess whose. Rome. Deep in the Algerian highlands stand the bones of Roman cities so complete they stop you cold. The greatest is Timgad, often called the Pompeii of Africa. The Emperor Trajan founded it around the year 100, a perfect grid of straight stone streets, a library, public baths, and a theater carved to seat 3,500 people. Then the empire faded, the desert advanced, and Timgad vanished. The sand swallowed it whole and held it for nearly 1,000 years, hidden in plain sight, until archaeologists dug it back into the light. You can walk its streets today, past an arch still standing where it always stood. And it is not alone. Jamila and Tipaza are two more Roman cities here under UNESCO protection, and Tipaza stacks 5 civilizations on a single shore: Phoenician, Punic, Roman, Numidian, Byzantine. But Rome was a latecomer. Before it ever arrived, this was the Berber kingdom of Numidia, ruled by kings like Massinissa, a power in its own right. And one more name, because it changes the picture completely. St. Augustine, one of the most important thinkers in the entire history of Western thought, was not a European. He was born here at Thagasta, in what is now Souk Aras, and served as bishop on this coast at Hippo Regius, today's Annaba.
Augustine was a Berber, an African. The intellectual foundations of Europe were partly laid by a man from a country Europe now forgets. Empires came and empires went, but the deepest scars came from one that arrived just 2 centuries ago. Now, we have to clear the air because Algeria is one of the most misunderstood countries on the internet. Start with the oldest, lazy myth that in this Muslim country, every man takes several wives. Look at the actual law and it collapses. Polygamy is legal, yes, but it is rare, only a few % of marriages. And a man cannot simply do it. He needs a court's permission, he needs to prove he can provide, and crucially, he needs the written, signed consent of the wife he already has. The single image people carry around is built on a rule almost no one uses that needs a woman's signature to even begin. Next, the identity. We've said it, and it bears repeating because it is the thing locals correct most often. Algeria is not simply Arab. The Amazigh were here first, and millions still carry that heritage with pride. And then the assumption that may surprise you the most, the role of women. In Algeria today, around 2/3 of university graduates are women. A majority of the country's judges are women. So are most of its lawyers and a huge share of its doctors. There is a real and unresolved tension here because that same wave of educated women is still underrepresented in the paid workforce. But the picture of the silent, hidden Algerian woman does not survive contact with the lecture halls and the courtrooms, where she is very often the one in charge. And to understand why outsiders get Algeria so wrong in the first place, you have to understand its most painful century. For 132 years, Algeria was not really a colony in the usual sense. France took Algiers in 1830 and then did something it did almost nowhere else. It declared Algeria to be part of France itself, governed from Paris, settled by hundreds of thousands of Europeans, while the Algerians on their own soil were treated as lesser. That is the wound. Not just occupation, but the claim that the country was not theirs at all. In 1954, that pressure broke into war. The Algerian War of Independence lasted until 1962, and it was savage on every side. It was fought in the mountains and in the alleys of the Algiers Kasbah, so close and so brutal that it was later turned into one of the most famous war films ever made. The cost is still argued over today. Algeria remembers around 1.5 million of its dead. French historians put the figure closer to 400,000. Hold those numbers for a second, because numbers hide what they mean. Even the lowest count is a city of people, gone in 8 years. Families with names and doorsteps and unfinished plans. In 1962, the Evian Accords ended it, and Algeria was finally, fully its own. The scars remain. The French language stayed too, spoken across the country to this day, even though it holds no official status, while Arabic and Tamazight are the official tongues. A language of the people who left, still in the mouths of the people who stayed. Out of all that pain, a very different Algeria was born, a country full of contradictions.
Modern Algeria is a country of astonishing cities, and the strangest of them hangs in the air. Constantine in the east is built on top of a deep gorge, the land split open beneath it, so the city is stitched back together by tall bridges fling across the chasm. People call it the City of Bridges, and walking it feels like crossing the sky. Then go south into the desert, and you find Gardaya and the Mazab Valley. Here, 1,000 years ago, Berber people built 5 fortified hilltop towns between the years 1012 and 1350, each crowned with a mosque like a watchtower, every house climbing the slope in a perfect geometric stack. It is a masterpiece of desert design, so far ahead of its time that one of the most influential architects of the 20th century, Le Corbusier, came here in 1931 and carried its ideas home. The clean, modern buildings of Europe owe a quiet debt to a Berber town in the Algerian Sahara. And back on the coast sits the Kasbah of Algiers, the old walled Medina founded more than 1,000 years ago. It is a maze of white houses and stairways tumbling down to the sea, where the war for independence was fought street by street. 3 cities, 3 different centuries of genius, all under UNESCO protection. All of this sits on top of one more thing, something buried underground that makes Algeria a quiet powerhouse. Underneath the sand is gas, enormous amounts of it. Algeria is the largest natural gas producer in Africa and one of the biggest exporters on Earth. And its state energy company, Sonatrach, is the highest-earning company on the whole continent. Oil and gas make up around 95% of what the country sells to the world. And here is the part that should matter to anyone watching from Europe. Algeria is the second-largest gas supplier to the entire continent. 2 great pipelines run under the Mediterranean, one to Italy, one straight to Spain. And in recent years, close to a quarter of Europe's gas has come from or through Algeria. The lights and heaters of cities you live in may be burning Algerian gas tonight. Then there is the fact that says everything about how this country slips under the radar. Algeria was the very last place on Earth to stop using leaded petrol. It burned through the world's final stockpile in the summer of 2021, quietly closing a century long. And the end of leaded fuel worldwide is estimated to prevent more than 1 million early deaths every single year. For all that heavy industry, the face of Algeria is strikingly young. Nearly 2/3 of the population is under 30, and what unites them more than anything is football. In 1982, Algeria beat West Germany at the World Cup, the first African or Arab nation ever to topple a European team on that stage. And in 2019, they were champions of all Africa. A country this vast and surprising rarely makes the headlines. If you would like more places like this brought to light, take a second to like the video and subscribe. So, if Algeria is this vast, this rich, this deep, why have you never seen it?
You never saw it. Algeria was one of the hardest countries on the planet to visit, wrapped in visas and permits and suspicion. So the images never came out, and the blank space on your mental map stayed blank. Not because there was nothing there, because the door was closed. But the door is opening. In early 2023, Algeria began offering visa on arrival for travelers heading into the Grand Sud, the Great South, the land of Tamanrasset, Janet, and the Tassili Plateau. The result was immediate. That year, the country drew a record of around 3.3 million visitors, more than 2 million of them from abroad, a jump of roughly 65%. The unseen giant is, slowly, letting itself be seen. And when you finally look, the old labels fall apart. This is the land of the blue Tuareg and the green Sahara, of Roman streets and Berber free people, of a city in the sky and a town that taught Europe how to build. It was never the flat, single thing the word Africa or the phrase Arab world tried to make it. So here is what Algeria really is. The biggest country in Africa and one of the least seen. A place where men veil and women rule the tent, where the desert remembers being green, and where a Berber boy from these shores grew up to shape the mind of Europe. For most of your life, it was a blank space on the map. But the emptiness was never in Algeria. It was in the map we were handed, and in how little we were ever asked to look. The strange country, it turns out, was only ever a country we never bothered to see. And the door is finally open. So let me leave you with this. Has it changed how you picture Algeria, or even Africa itself? Tell me below. And if it has, there is a whole Sahara of stories like this one still waiting, just past the edge of the map.